So first of all, a big thank you to our title sponsor, AutoAlert, for sponsoring Modern Dealership Magazine's In the Box interviews. We do it every single year. This year, we got to say thank you to AutoAlert for giving us twice the space we've had in the past, and it's been unbelievable. AutoAlert, with you guys have twice the space out there too. CEO of AutoAlert, Mr. Mike Dullea, joining us on the In the Box podcast, This is a podcast, but it's also the video. I'm so used to just doing it in-house. Thanks for joining, and how'd you get this much space? This is the size of Rhode Island.
Well, I think you pay for it.
You pay for it?
It's an idea, yeah.
You just not like the Oklahoma land rush where you just run in here and put a flag down?
Well, it always comes down to finding your spot, right? You want to be in the right spot where people are coming by and have enough room when dealers come visit, right?
Yeah. Now you should remember way back in India when you were founding VIN Solutions, a startup, very small. You guys had a 10 by 10 probably with a pop-up tent, and now look at where you're.
We actually used other people's booths.
Did you?
Yeah. We would just stand there and.
You're known
we work. I mean, honestly, right? Now I think they call it suitcasing. We might have been the original suitcasers back then. So
just coming in
But when we first started getting the booths, yeah, they were 10 by 10. It was just glad to have a spot in an NADA.
It's a lot of people that know you have known you as long as you have. It's just incredible how it's three companies, you're 3 for 3, and now with AutoAlert. My first question coming with AutoAlert, because AutoAlert known in the industry for 16 years as a single data mining, equity mining program, but you coming on as CEO in the first quarter of 2016, all that changed. The data mining was still there, but we started to see a move into customer experience management. What inspired that move from going to this single product to now a platform of products bringing customer experience?
That's a great question. And the answer is anytime somebody asks me, I give them the same answer. We did it because it's our job, right? As a partner to the dealers, is to never stop innovating and to really understand what drives consumers. And so we understood that the consumer experience, if you think about it, all the dealers I've talked to this week will tell you, now that you said this to me, it completely makes sense, but the experience that the consumer has at every dealership touch point impacts whether they'll service at your dealership or purchase another car from your dealership. And essentially we wrote a ticketing system now, much like Salesforce, if anybody's familiar with that, for automotive. And it's not the first ticketing system in automotive because those would be the DMSs. If your car needs to be repaired, if you need maintenance on your vehicle, when you bring your vehicle to the store, they open up an RO, right? A ticket on it,
right? Essentially.
But for anything other than that, there was no ticketing system available to dealers. Well, now with AutoAlert there is, and that ticketing system empowers every employee in the dealership to be customer-centric. If a customer has an issue, we can collaborate to fix it. Anybody can post it and communicate with the consumer along the process. So we're trying to improve not just brand loyalty, because it'll improve brand loyalty, but dealership loyalty. And with an increase in dealership loyalty will come an increase in both sales of new pre-owned vehicles as well as service, right?
Right.
So many times a dealer would drop the ball immediately after the sale, right? I didn't get my second key, I didn't get my floor mats, my car wasn't clean, and there was just a communication breakdown. And so our belief was that every dealer in America wants to do the right thing, but if you don't have a system that measures it and tracks it, that you can put processes in place that we all know will work, I mean, how do you take care of that, right? And for the dealers that are watching this, you've all seen this. The customer calls the salesperson who takes a pen and writes it on his hand, and takes another up, and he's spending time with another client, and by the time he gets back, his note is erased, right, and he never calls the customer back. They call 2 or 3 days later and have to tell the same story over and over again, and those are the moments in time that you can lose a consumer for life.
When did the switch go off? Because being one of the fathers of automotive retail CRMs, right? One of the originals, you tell the story I've heard in the past of you and a group of colleagues in the early days just coming up with the time-based follow-up of CRMs, just guessing, what, maybe 2 weeks, let's put 2 weeks in there. And then the happy birthday to your car, the happy birthday to you. When did the switch go off with you that wasn't the way to do it anymore? That wasn't the right customer experience?
Well, the switch went off when we did that. But At the time, it was all we could do, right? The technology, I tell people, I remember filling, rooms full of servers. Now it's in the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. The technology is so much better now. It enables us to build enabling products for the dealerships, right? And so we always knew that was the best way to do it. We just couldn't do it. And when I was at Vin Solutions, we get asked nonstop for this. There's got to be a better way to do this, right? We understand that most dealers on most CRMs right now are the same message to the same person at the same point in time. And so it'd be like going into a meeting with 10 different people, and those 10 different people saying, we want to buy fleet trucks from you. Can you get with me on miles per gallon? Can you get with me on the maintenance programs? Can we negotiate the pricing? And whatever the 10 people wanted, but we went back and we just sent them all the exact same form letter, right? It just doesn't make sense. There has to be some component to one-on-one, coupled with just Netflix, Amazon. It's not there's no such thing as following up with customers. It should be recommendations, right? So what we built now is a recommendation engine that will replace those more antiquated time-based follow-up systems.
So time-based follow-up with the CRMs were 100% sales-based. They were all based after the delivery of a vehicle. Which sounds like what you're talking about with customer experience is also sales-based, but I've heard you say that customer experience with AutoAlert, what they're providing in the platform, goes much further outside of sales at the dealership. How does the customer experience work into the other departments at the dealership with AutoAlert?
Well, we know most dealers we talk to are customer focused, right? I mean, we're hearing it. I myself, as you know, own a dealership. So I own a Ford dealership, right? So we hear it from Ford Motor Company, customer experience. And we tried to implement it, but when we try to implement it at a dealership, we're implementing it one department at a time. We have great customer interaction in our service department. We have great customer satisfaction in our BDC, service department, parts department, body shops, quick lanes, really any spot that a consumer can have an interaction with the dealership, but they're all siloed. That's the issue. The data siloed, the messaging siloed, the ability to help cross-departmentally is siloed. And what it would take to take care of that is a collaborative system, which is our Pando, a system that 100% of your employees at a dealership can participate in, and to be able to have communications and collaborations cross departments, right, and take care of issues. Anytime somebody has an issue, there's a way to take care of it. Really, that's the big difference.
When I heard you or heard AutoAlert announce Pando as a product, I was confused on Pando. I've never heard that word before my entire life. So I Googled it, and what I'd found, and you tell me if this is where the idea?
You found free music.
I didn't find free music. Okay. What I found was a set of trees in southern Utah.
Yes.
And is that where Pando?
Yeah, just one common root ball.
Because they all have the same root system.
They all have the same root system.
That's where the name came from. There's a lot of people that I ask, like, Pando, that's what it is. It's all connected. It's what I think I saw was Latin for all connected or all communicated.
Yes.
I attended your press conference yesterday here at NADA, and you mentioned a few things that I'd like to question you about now.
Okay.
On product release and platform releases, you came with, and I've never heard this, and I've been coming to NADA for 10 years, a recall management solution. Can you elaborate on what AutoAlert has put together on a recall management solution?
Well, we work with not all, but most OEMs, and have availability to recalls. And so as we started looking at recalls, we noticed that we started talking to dealers, right? You have more recalls in your system than you have customers in your system, because vehicles have multiple recalls, obviously. But what is stopping us from engaging with recalls? If we are really going to have exceptional customer service, if we're going to be customer centric at our dealership, how can we ignore the big elephant in the room, which is the recall? There's something wrong with your car needs to be fixed, right? And once again, every dealer we ever talked to wanted to be able to do it, but they had issues with the ability to do it. One of them was, what happens when somebody comes in and we look at their vehicle and we don't have the part, right? No one's ever really created a recommendation engine type follow-up system for recalls, which is what we did. We put this in place now. So we also determined that what a great way just to get someone to visit your store, right? We're not trying to sell you anything. We're inviting you to the store for a good reason. You know, we care about you and your family. We care about your safety, which we all care about people's safety. The OEMs care about people's safety, and so do the dealerships. We want to invite you in, and we want to take care of the issues. A lot of recalls are VIN specific, and with VIN specific recalls, we have to order the part.
Right.
And sometimes that's where the ball drops, right? So a dealer would say, you know, maybe sometimes when I'm trying to do the right thing, if I have a break in that communication with the consumer, it ends up being not a great experience for the consumer, not a great experience for the dealership. And so it's very difficult for us to wrap our minds around, you know, how we would do this, how we would take advantage of this, right? And so what we did was built a system. When somebody comes in, you order the part, we see the parts on special order, and we start the communication with the consumer. We just ordered your part. It should be in 3 to 5 days, that kind of message. If it doesn't come in, hey, for some reason the part unexpectedly didn't show up, we're going to keep in constant communication with you until it does. And then when the part arrives, it gets scanned in the parts and the message goes out. Hey, great news, your part's here to fix your vehicle. Let's schedule a time to get your vehicle fixed, right? And most dealers that see that say, that's a great deal, right? If that's something we would really embrace, and when you couple that with time-based follow-up, I just had my Ford 20 group meeting here. AutoAlert's 420. We have our 20 or 30 dealers on a group that we meet with on innovation and our platform in its entirety as it pertains to Ford. I challenge them, and I challenge every manager and every dealer principal that watches this podcast. Go do it for a day. Go in your BDC and make time-based follow-up calls. Go wish somebody happy birthday for their car. Go call for 2-year service when they were just in your dealership a week ago, right? And this is why we built our platform, because even if you're still doing that, you should know that they were in 2 days ago. If you ordered a recall part, right, in that situation, you should know it.
Right.
And the information, the lack of information cross-departmentally and dealerships causes confusion, and it causes disengagement not only by the consumer but by the employee.
Correct.
Right? And we asked some of our dealers to record your calls and literally heard them say things like, hey, you know, I'm doing this because my boss is making me. They're making me make this 3-year follow-up service call to you. And
they know it's silly.
Yeah, it's silly, right? So if you have more recalls than you do consumers, why would you call for any other reason? Right? You wouldn't call for any other reason than to invite them in, and when they get in, take care of any issues they have. If they can, swap key to key, which is what the core alert miner, program would offer up, which is just a recommendation. We would make the recommendation at the time they arrive. We think that the people that work in the BDCs they're going to have more tenure, right? And that was my thing. Is I know that we rotate BDC people all the time.
Right.
Joey, you go make those calls for a week and see how long you're in a dealership making a completely irrelevant call.
You keep mentioning the same word over and over and over and over again. Customer experience management looks like the glue to that is communication.
Yes.
That's the glue, and that AutoAlert has figured out that communication is the core, and these platforms just are no-brainers.
Yes.
Right? Am I on the right path here?
Well,
it's just no-brainers.
So if and you asked the question, or you spoke about this, but in the beginning of 2016 when I got here, AutoAlert was a data mining software, right? It said, here's the data, here's one thing we can do with this data, right? When there's really unlimited amount of things we can do with data, but here's one thing we can do with data, and then we want you to call people up and tell them that we want their trade, or we're going to send them something saying that we need your trade. Yeah. And I had the Jeff Cotton here, who was the original OG of AutoAlert.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to him, Jeff, we want your trade. That's a little worn out, right? People, that's not a right way to engage. We need to recommend, when the right way to engage, and when we engage the right way, give the right message to the consumer. So if you look at somebody like Automotive Mastermind, right? they're just a me too. So, they started by people that used our software that said, I can do that too, right? I just need to look at financial information, payoff information, sprinkled with behavioral data and things that,
Simple coding, simple
algorithm, simple program, right? And we wanted to not be that simple program anymore because we understood that at the core of it, we had something that every dealer in America would need, but it wasn't data mining, it was recommendation engine, but not just recommendation engine for when I can swap somebody out of a car, but recommendation engine for service, recommendation engine for a myriad of different reasons to invite somebody down to the dealership, but most importantly, at every touch point at the dealership. One thing that you're going to hear me say till I'm blue in the face is that most dealerships, when I talk to them, and I said, let's explain your brand. What is your brand? They would talk about advertising. They would talk about that they were family owned. They would talk, mostly those two things. Here's my ad for the rest of the year.
Right.
We're a $50 under invoice store. We're a family-owned store, right?
Taglines
and that's brand. But my contention is that your brand is actually the sum of your customers' experiences at every dealership touch point. And if you look at every dealership touch point, how do I enable my staff to be able to be impactful for consumer experience, right? And if I can do that right, the recommendations that we now take those experiences at every touch point, and they feed our data algorithms and our recommendation engines, right? So we think, I'm a big believer that in the next 24 months, every large dealership group, most dealerships in America will have our system. I mean, it was very complicated to build. We started building it actually in 2014. It took a long time to perfect the software.
So what do you say to dealers when you tell them about communication? You tell them about sending basically the right message to the right customers at the right time. It's real information. It's not just hope and spray information. Do they need to get rid of a CRM then for after the sale? Like does AutoAlert replace the CRM or?
No, we don't.
What do they do if they have VIN solutions or e-leads or?
We don't replace a CRM. We don't have the showroom control yet, right? And I say yet because we're building it, obviously. I think if I tried to tell anybody in the world we weren't building this, they're not going to know. I mean, they're not going to believe me. But we are building it, but it's really simply a plugin, right? It's like, here's a plugin that's going to give you showroom, which means this is how I enter a customer, this is how I dedupe a customer, this is how I make sure the right person gets assigned to the customer, scan a driver's license, pick a vehicle. Those things are really easy. The hard part was the communication between, not communication so much, but processes and communication that can start from an employee, a consumer, or a piece of inventory, right? And to get those things to work was very complicated.
Yeah. It's amazing how the CRM was the monster in the room 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it's now because of the evolution of communication and data and all that, it's now become a plugin.
Yeah.
It's things evolved, and that's just crazy to think that giant and now just simple plugin.
Well, it's what you focus on, right? So when we were at our previous companies, we'd always hear, is there a way that we could communicate, real time between departments? Can you add that?
Right.
No, we can't, because we really focused on, pre-sale, get them in, do the paperwork, and then really just a time-based follow-up afterwards, right?
Right.
There's really no complication to those programs. And when I was going to rewrite it, at the beginning, it would have been 2012. You literally have to just rebuild the entire program. So for me, I think it'll be interesting to see which of the companies, and I know there will be, that make the commitment to say, there is a better way. And if I'm truly here to help dealers, I'm going to help dealers with consumer experience.
Right.
And I would love to see other people building products just like ours. And take the time and energy and effort to do it. It benefits everybody.
Speaking of product platforms, one more that you spoke about at the press conference yesterday here at NADA show is volume target solutions for dealerships that are looking for that volume target.
Well, one of the things that I just mentioned it, but now we can have processes that can start on either inventory, people, consumers, or customers, right?
Right.
So we can almost build solutions on the fly now. And One of the things we haven't talked about was we also have alert optics that we work with the OEMs, and we help them determine the path that they should go down for incentives and private incentives, right? So we let them see all of the dealers of their brand in the country at any given point live, and apply incentives live, and then feed those to the dealerships, which is a better engagement from the employee to the consumer, right? Once again, that's a recommendation. I'm going to call Joey because he has a $2,000 special incentive.
Right.
That's a better message than happy birthday to your car,
Right.
Joey, you've had it for 2 years, right? So that would be a recommended message that the OEM is helping us provide. And then we got asked for something to help with the volume programs that a lot of people believe most OEMs are going to get into in the next couple of years. So if I have a volume target to hit, how do I hit that volume target? What customers should I focus on? If I'm going to apply dealer cash or cash that's available to me from the OEM, how would I target the right consumer, right? So for instance, if we wanted to target and I know the Ford world so good, obviously I own a Ford dealership, but if I wanted to target Explorers to Expeditions, this would allow me to do that, right? Find the right customers
Out of your own database,
in the right
out of the
payment
dealership's
walks.
database.
So we basically gave that same alert optics to every dealer in the country, and then we can build whatever processes you want around it. So
like
you would
it.
see things like the rapid recon, the type of recon apps
Right.
that we can just build those on the fly now.
So that's
right?
where,
Yeah.
I mean, once you got the communication piece down,
Yeah.
these platform pieces that are dealer recommended, our
Yeah.
dealers are coming in and asking for this, right? This is, and they're just simple. Once you got that core put together and how it can communicate, and you got the data, it seems
I don't
like
know
it's
if
simple.
you talked to, if you interviewed Greg Becker at all, but Greg's our vice president of our basically our entire solution product. And now that we've launched this, he's got a list that's a mile long from dealers, right? Because once dealers see this,
Right.
then there's something they want to replace, which is easy enough on most, products that are just based on a process. But also new ones, right? Because it opens up their mind. Hey, if I could do this and this, and if I could hit a button that did these 17 things, I want to do that. And really, that's what we built. That's what our product does. And I'd love for every dealer to look at it and understand the flexibility we give them and the power we give them.
Thanks for stopping by Modern Dealerships in the Box, and thanks for sponsoring our title sponsor of the In the Box interviews here at NADA 2020. And last but not least, thanks for the giant area. We're actually sleeping here too at night.
Oh, that's good.
And we just had
Saves
dinner.
money.
Yeah. So
Also, LoJack.
LoJack goes a little
shout
more
out because they're in that. So I watched a couple of these videos and I thought, wow, LoJack couldn't have been in a better place.
I wonder if they even know that they're on here.
No,
That'd
but
be
I
awesome.
mean, it's a great product, right? So
Mike
I love
Dullea
giving them.
from AutoAlert. You can reach him, Mike.Dullea at autoalert.com. We'll see you with more interviews, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you.